राम गयो रावण गयो जाको बहु परवार कहो नानक थिर कछ नहीं सुपने ज्यों संसार. Gone is Ram and Ravan too, with mighty clans had blessed been who. O Nanak, nothing will endure, the world is just a dream for sure. Today, I share with you the story of the extraordinary man who wrote these words, a warrior, a poet, a king, generous and humble, compassionate beyond measure, and unyielding in the face of tyranny and repression. A man whose sublime poetry provides comfort hundreds of years after his death. A man who was the epitome of surrender and sacrifice. A man whose deeply philosophical and profound writings help put human life in perspective and instill the calm of vairag or detachment in anyone who engages with them. If one word can be used to describe how Guru Tegh Bahadur lived his life, it would be equanimity. Let us ponder these words of his. Sorat Mahalla Noma. जो नर दुख में दुख नहीं माने सुख स्नेह और भय नहीं जाके कंचन माटी माने रहाओ नह निंदा नह उस्तत जाके लोभ मोह अपमाना हर्ख सोगते रहे न्यारो नाह मान अपमाना आसा मनसा सगल त्यागे जगते रहे निरासा काम क्रोध जह पर से नाहिन तह घट ब्रह्म निवासा गुर कृपा जह नर को कीनी तय ए जुगत पछानी नानक लीन भयो गोविंद स्यों जो पानी संग पानी. In the midst of sorrow feels no pain, fear, comfort, love he does not feign, gold and dirt to him one twain. He does not slander, will not praise, untouched by greed or love or pride. Sorrow and joy to him are one. Glory, disdain he takes in stride, banishes desire and hope. From the world he asks for naught. Free he is of anger, lust. In such a one the Lord is sought. The man who is then thusly blessed, save him then the path knows who. O Nanak and the Lord are one, merged have streams of water too. These words were spoken when Guru Tegh Bahadur was recognized as the ninth Guru of the Sikhs, after having faced opposition from 22 pretenders, all of whom were making claims to the Guruship. It is telling that at the moment of what seemed to be his greatest triumph, his demeanor was unchanged. The anonymity of a recluse or the adoring gaze of the faith that he had been exalted to steward, they were all the same to Guru Tegh Bahadur. One wonders, is it truly possible to live one's life with such detachment? But when we look at the Guru's own life, we understand that these words are not hyperbole in the very least. For Guru Tegh Bahadur truly lived a life of equanimity, no matter what the circumstances. The following words are from the Bachittar Natak, considered to be the autobiography of Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru of the Sikhs and the son of Guru Tegh Bahadur. तिलक जंजूरा खा प्रभता कीनो बड़ो कलूम साका साधन हेत इति जिन करी शीस दिया पर सीना उचरी धर्म हेत सा काजन किया शीस दिया पर सिर न दिया नाटक चेटक किए कुकाजा प्रभ लोगन को आवत लाजा ठीक कर फोर दलीस सिर प्रभपुर किया पयान तेग बहादुर सीख रया करी न किन्हू आन तेग बहादुर के चलत भयो जगत को शोक, है सब जग भयो, जय 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 सुरलोक. The sacred thread and mark he saved, a feat so bold in this age dark. For the meek he gave his head, not one word of protest, hark! For righteousness he did this deed, laid down his head, but not his creed, while miracles might bring one fame. To the godly they are naught but shame. Shattered himself on the tyrant's head, then left to with the Lord unite. O Tegh Bahadur, what a feat! Who else could set this wrong aright? O Tegh Bahadur, you are gone. The world it does cry out in pain, and even as the mortals weep, the heavens to rejoice are fain. It is the 25th of May, 1675. In a small settlement in the northern Himalayan foothills, a holy man who leads a fledgling faith holds court. His face is serene, aglow, but his broad shoulders, powerful forearms, and ramrod straight back, evoke visions of a mighty warrior. At his side sits his only son, a bright-eyed lad of 9. All day, followers and supplicants have entered his court barefoot after partaking of the simple meal that is served in an adjoining tent. A band of travelers enters the court. They are fair-skinned and sharp-featured, all of them sporting caste marks on their foreheads, and the sacred thread of the twice-born adorns their torsos. They have hastened to the Guru's court with brows furrowed, their bodies still bearing the dirt and grime of the long journey from the northernmost part of the empire. The leader of the group, Pandit, Pandit Kriparam Dutt, begins to speak with folded hands. The Guru listens, as does his son, as the words tumble out in anguish. हाथ जोड़ कहो कृपा राम दत्त ब्राह्मण मटन ग्राम हमरो बल अब रहो न काई हे गुरु तेग बहादुर राई गज के बंधन काटन हारे तुम गुरु नानक है अवतारे जिम द्रौपदी राखी लाज दियो सवार सुदामे काज फिरत फिरत प्रभ आयो थारे ठाक पयो हो तो दरबारे सेवा हरि इम अर्ज गुजारी तुम कल जुग के किसन मुरारी. With folded hands, Kriparam spake, the Brahmin from the northern vale. In our arms is strength no more. O Guru, as our God we hail. O Guru, as our king we hail. You rescued the elephant king. You are the light of the Guru first. Draupadi's refuge were you. You satisfied Sudama's thirst. These are references to Hindu mythology. When the divine came to the aid of the desperate, Gajendra, the elephant king, was rescued from certain death by Indra. Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas in the epic Mahabharata, was saved from dishonor by Krishna. Sudama was a poor devotee and dear friend who was blessed by Krishna. Wandered far and wide have we fall exhausted at your door. Before you, Lord, we humbly pray. To us you are Krishna of yore. This excerpt is from the Shahid Bilas, a biography of Bhai Mani Singh, a great Sikh warrior. The Shahid Bilas was written by Kavi Seva Singh. The faith of their forefathers, which their families have practiced for thousands of years, is in jeopardy. Iftikhar Khan, the governor of their homeland, Kashmir, acting on the authority of the mighty Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, has decreed that they may no longer follow their ancient faith. They are to convert to Islam or put to the sword. Guru Tegh Bahadur, the 9th Guru of the Sikhs, ponders their words. The irony is not lost on him. As the steward of the progressive house of Guru Nanak, he is being asked to intervene to protect the very symbols that his forebears had rejected unequivocally as the trappings of a cruel and repressive social order. His son watches him carefully as he sits, deep in thought, perhaps wondering how his father can possibly help the Kashmiri Brahmins faced by the wrath of the mighty Mughals of Delhi. Finally, the Guru speaks. Bal chhutkyo bandan pare, kachu na hot upaye, kaho nanak ab ot har gaj jyu hoye sahaye. My strength has fled, I am in chains. Ahead of me no path I see. Says Nanak, now I turn to the Lord, who but he can now help me. His words are greeted with silence. Pandit Kriparam looks shattered. The Guru was the last hope of his people, and this is not the response that he was hoping to hear. The entire court looks at the Kashmiri Brahmins with sympathy. And then the 9-year-old lad speaks, firmly, with clarity of vision that belies his years. Bal hoa bandan chute, sab kich hot upaye, Nanak sab kich tumre haath mein, tum hi hot sahaye. My strength restored shatters the chains. The way forward is clear. For Nanak, all is in your hands. The Lord with me dispels my fear. The Guru smiles. The lad is ready. It is time for him to embrace his destiny. तब सतगुर ए मन ठहराई बिन सिर दिए जगत दुख पाई दास गोबिंद थे पास बहायो कमर कसा सतगुर करायो पैसे 5 श्रीफल एक धर आगे दियो मस्तक टेक बाल गुरु तब कहो अलाए पिता गुरु तो करो सहाय सेवा हरि सुन धीरज दीना दिल्ली दिशा प्याना कीना. The Guru true then does resolve of sacrifice, the time is nigh. Sends he for his beloved son, girds him for his mission high, a coconut and pennies 5. To the lad he bends his knee. O father, says the little chief, who but you can mentor me? Be calm, my son, and do not grieve. For Delhi then he readies to leave. He bids his followers to make preparations for a journey that will bring him face to face with tyranny. On the Mughal throne of Delhi, which was once the dominion of enlightened rulers like Akbar, now sits a despot. The Guru knows that Aurangzeb will not listen to reason. The Guru does not wear the Janeu, the sacred thread of the Hindus, but that is of no consequence. At stake is a fundamental principle that the faith he leads believes in. It is wrong of Aurangzeb to force the Hindus to renounce the Janeu. He must be confronted. On July 11, 1675, the Guru set out for Delhi. He was accompanied by 3 beloved Sikhs, by Mati Das, by Sati Das, and by Dayala. Just a day later, he was arrested at the village of Malikpur Rangana by Mirza Nur Muhammad Khan, a Mughal officer in charge of the Ropur police post. From Ropur, the Guru and his companions were taken to Sarand under heavy guard and imprisoned. Then they were transferred to the Kotwali or police station at Chandni Chowk in Delhi. During the period of incarceration, which lasted around 4 months, the Guru and his companions were constantly harassed and tortured. Finally, the Guru was produced in Aurangzeb's court. The Emperor Aurangzeb entered the Divan-e-Am or public audience hall at about 9 a.m. and proceeded to the balcony known as the seat of the shadow of God. He was attired in a white silken robe tied under the right arm with a silken sash from which his dagger hung. On his head was a white turban bound with gold web and adorned with 1 large emerald amid 4 smaller ones. All eyes were turned towards him, and the sound of trumpets and drums could be heard. Below the balcony of the throne was an enclosure surrounded by rails reserved for the men of the royal household, feudal princes, and foreign ambassadors. Ranged around the emperor, a troop of eunuchs stirred the air with fans of yak tails and peacock feathers. When he was seated, they gave him a sword and belt, which he laid down on his left side close to the throne. Then he made a sign with his hand for those who had business to come forth. The Guru and his companions were brought in. Aurangzeb was not ignorant of the tenets of the Sikh faith. He had already met Ram Rai and had spent time with him learning about the Sikh faith. Raja Jai Singh, Raja Ram Singh, and a host of other courtiers had spoken very highly of the Guru's predecessor, Guru Harkrishan, who had come to Delhi. The emperor also knew that the Sikh Gurus were as opposed to idol worship as any Muslim. He knew that they did not believe in Brahmanism and all that was associated with it. He was very hopeful that the leader of a faith that had traditional associations with Hinduism, but seemed closer to Islam ideologically, could be persuaded to embrace Islam, which he hoped would pave the way for mass voluntary conversions. You do not believe in idol worship. You do not believe in these Hindu priests, the Brahmins. Why then have you espoused their cause? Why are you defending their faith? Asked Aurangzeb. With this question, the emperor began a great dialogue, which is said to have been recorded by Sati Das, but was ultimately destroyed by the Mughal authorities. It was a dialogue between an unyielding absolute ruler and the unyielding conscience of an enlightened prophet. When the emperor bragged about his power, wealth, and authority, Guru Tegh Bahadur calmly pointed out its ephemeral nature and was unbending in the face of both threats and inducements. The debates continued, but the Guru was unyielding. Finally, an ultimatum was given. The Guru and his companions would embrace Islam or they would face death. However, a reprieve would be given if the Guru would perform a miracle. The Guru merely smiled. Miracles violate divine will, and there is no room for them in the faith of Guru Nanak. When it was clear that the Guru would not abandon his principles, his companions were tortured before his eyes to weaken his resolve. Bhai Mati Das was sawn alive. Bhai Sati Das was boiled to death in a cauldron, and Bhai Dayala was wrapped in cotton and burned alive. Early the next morning, a humble sweeper named Bhai Jetta, who was a disciple of the Guru's, was summoned to clean the site where the Guru's beloved Sikhs had been tortured and killed. A water carrier sprinkled some water on the dusty ground. Guru Tegh Bahadur took his bath at a well close to the Kotwali and recited his prayers. As Guru Tegh Bahadur came to the place of execution, Qazi Abdul Wahab Bora read the fatwa or decree. The executioner, Jalaluddin of Samana, stood there with a drawn sword ready to strike. Dark clouds were gathering, and the crowd of onlookers began to weep. Guru Tegh Bahadur, the very picture of poise and calm, raised both hands to bless and console them. Silence descended as Jalaluddin swung his heavy blade. In a second, it was over. A Muslim Pir who happened to be there at the time of the execution proclaimed, "The emperor has not done well. There will be a great rebellion. The city of Delhi will be desolate." As the Guru's severed head fell to the ground, it seemed that all was lost. But it wasn't. His martyrdom strengthened the principle that his followers have passionately adhered to in the 400 years that have passed. Time and again, in the face of overwhelming odds, Sikhs have proudly stood up to tyranny to protect the rights of the oppressed, no matter what the circumstances or how high the price to be paid. Resistance to injustice is a fundamental principle of the Sikh faith. Guru Nanak proclaimed this when he condemned Babur's tyranny. Guru Arjan and Guru Tegh Bahadur sacrificed themselves to willingly uphold this principle. Guru Tegh Bahadur was born Tyagmal, the youngest son of the sixth Guru, Guru Hargobind. The lad, whose very name evoked renunciation, exhibited a deeply spiritual nature from an early age. Yet, he grew up to be a brave warrior, distinguishing himself during the Battle of Kartarpur, which his father fought against the Mughals. His valor prompted his father to bestow a new name upon him, and Tyagmal became Tegh Bahadur, the brave wielder of the double-edged sword. While Guru Tegh Bahadur is revered for his bravery, his sacrifice, and the poise with which he lived his life, his eternal legacy is the body of his writings enshrined in the Guru Granth Sahib, the scripture of the Sikhs. The beautiful poetry of Guru Tegh Bahadur, written in Braj Bhasha, often focuses on the ephemeral nature of our existence. It draws our attention to the bitter realities of life, in particular, contrasting man's everlasting relationship with the divine with the ephemeral bonds between him and those who surround him. I conclude with this beautiful hymn of Guru Tegh Bahadur's, Tilang Mahela Noma. जाग ले हो रे मना, जाग ले कहाँ गाफिल सोया, जो तन उपजया संग ही सो भी संग न होया, मात पिता सुत बंद जन हित जास्यो कीना, जियो छुट्यो जब देह ते डार अगन में दीना, जीवत लो व्यवहार है जग को तुम जानो, नानक हर गुण गाए ले सब सुफन समानो. Arise and awake, my mind. In ignorance you sleep. The body you were born with, know this, it will not keep. Father, mother, children, friends, for whom love in your heart you fill, leaves your body when your soul cast you in the fire they will. Only while you live they're yours. Of the world, this is the way. O Nanak, embrace the Lord. The world a dream, I'm wont to say. Thank you.